Grand rising, my peoples. Grand rising, my peoples. Just wanted to get in here and chit chat with y'all today. The morning scheduled programming, as we would say, will have to be rescheduled. I have to reschedule what I was originally going to do this morning. We could still jump on that and still talk about it. That's fine. But the person that I was going to do it with had other things to do, so I wasn't going to co-live this morning, so to say. We are 6 months in since the last time I seen Junior. We're 6 months in now, and it's pretty much where I'm at. But before I get into that, this live was originally, this morning was supposed to have been about a live that I did earlier this week where I was talking about communion and things of that nature, because somebody explained communion. We can get into that right there, but like I said again, the person that I was going to do this with had some other stuff that came up, so I wasn't going to be able to co-live with that person. So, anywho, here we are, y'all. We 6 months in, man. We 6 months in. And when I tell y'all, it don't feel like it, it don't feel like it. It don't feel like we 6 months in. For real, for real. You know, again, it's like a roller coaster ride. It goes up, it goes down. You know what I'm saying? It's certain things that still, haven't really been touched on like that right there. But hey, this right here is part of the process. Anybody ever going through this right here is part of the process that they had to go through, man. It was a roller coaster ride. Like I said, some days might be better than others. That's fine. And in some cases, you can just push through. But, I'm 6 months in without seeing my little man. And, like I said, I've been doing a lot of work, a lot of spirit work in those 6 months. You know what I'm saying? Initially, not so, because I wasn't in that place. But during that process, I had to become that person to be able to get within that spirit place, so I could be able to understand a little better, okay? Because there's more to it than what you see on the physical end. And I recognize that it was more to it than that. So, in between that time, like I just had to do a lot of spirit work, you know what I'm saying, on myself, which I'm still currently doing. I don't have it, it's not all, down packed and everything, you know what I'm saying? I was just, the reason why I take this path that I'm doing is because at the time when I was looking for help, like I was looking for the right answers, I was looking for something. When I lost my son, it was like there was nothing nobody could say. There wasn't the correct answers. There was nothing. You know what I'm saying? I had nothing. I had nothing to go on. I had nothing to lean on. It felt like, you know what I'm saying? And so everything, just like got shut off to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't hear nothing, that made sense. None of that. Okay. So I started to look into other places. Now, the post that I did earlier this week right here, you know what I'm saying? It has something to do with communion and the drinking of blood and the eating of the cracker and stuff like that. Now, what I'm looking at is organization of people that goes into that realm of symbolically eating and drinking blood. You know what I'm saying? And I've always took issue with that right there. My spirit didn't allow me to align with that part right there, okay? And that right there is through few organizations that deal with religion, right? So in my mind, after losing my son, I didn't think that I could be able to turn to those sources for help, because it was just things that my spirit just didn't agree with. That's not to say that you had bad people there. You know what I'm saying? You probably had some good people there. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just the practices of some of the things that were being taught, because you got to think about this right here for a minute. Before you even get to anything about blood or anything like that, just look at the things that were being taught, you know, on the Sunday's sermon. Look at that stuff that was being taught on that Sunday's sermon. You know what I mean? Everything that was being taught, it taught you that it was a power outside of you. And that right there just don't sit well when somebody done lost a child and you're telling them that same story. You got to come to them a little better, because after you done lost your child, you don't believe in none of that stuff. You lose faith. You lose a whole lot of faith, for real. Everything that these people done taught you over the years about how good this loving God was and how good Jesus is and all this other stuff, when you lose a child, you don't believe that no more. You don't feel that no more. I'm telling you. And it's not to be blasphemous or whatever y'all want to call it, or it ain't to be against God or nothing like that. I'm just telling you what a person feels. I know what I felt. Because deep in my heart, from the God that I was raised up on, he protected the children like that. You know what I'm saying? So I thought, you know what I mean? This is what I was taught up until it was my turn. When it was my turn for the protection of my child, and I didn't get that protection from who I was told that would always protect his children. God protects his children. I didn't feel that when I lost my son. I'm telling you, for a very long time, I lost my faith. I lost the faith in God. I lost the faith in religion, any of that stuff right there. Therefore, at that time, when I was going through that right there, I couldn't hear nothing about anything that was coming from the Bible. I couldn't hear nothing coming from the church. I couldn't hear nothing coming from anything that was considered to be religion, because my spirit wouldn't allow me to hear it. You know what I'm saying? What my spirit allowed me to hear was the people that was sincerely coming to me with gratitude, you know what I'm saying, with sincerity in their heart, that you knew, that your spirit knew that they just didn't know what to say to you. If they knew what to say to you to make you feel better in any kind of way, you could feel it in their spirit. And that's what I'm telling you, because that's the way it was with me. So when people was coming, the best thing that they knew how to say at that time, it had to go back to the religious realm. And I get it. So I'm not, knocking nobody for what they believe in. I'm not doing that right there, because I seen the bigger picture. But at that time, that's when I was dealing with my spirit. I didn't know that though. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that. I was dealing with my spirit at that time. And like I said, I was really at my lowest. So when the people would come in and they'd say, don't worry about it, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. You know, they say stuff like that right there, right? I'm going to tell you like that on the physical end, that don't make nobody feel better. I'm going to let you know that right now. Because at that point, when you done lost a child, that right there is who you got your issue with. You know what I'm saying? Because you want some answers, man. That's just the bottom line to it. Good morning, y'all. You want some answers. That's what you want. You want some answers, and you don't want to hear none of this stuff that you gonna go hear on the Sunday sermon. Because when people done lost a child, typically that's what the religious people, they tend to come in with this Sunday sermon type of condolences to you and stuff like that. And for these people ain't in that mind space. And there's so many people person after person after person after person. They steady coming and coming and coming with this Lord stuff that I'm telling y'all is not resonating with nobody. Not that person that's being hurt. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this stuff has to make sense. And what I try to do is make sense out of it. And physically, you can make sense out of it physically, but it's a caveat that come attached with that right there. Making sense of it physically is going to keep you low. I keep saying that all the time. If you're trying to make sense of this stuff physically, it's going to keep you low. Because, see, remember how I would tell y'all that when you start feeling low, when I was feeling low and stuff like that, like I would kind of dive into it, you know what I'm saying? So I can get it out the way, right? Well, you're going to have times where you're going to be on long periods of stretches and stuff like that after everything is over with. And then it's going to hit you again. Boom. Something else going to hit you. You know what I'm saying? Where you have to look at it and take care of it. And you're going to have to be able to maintain frame at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Because every time that you think that you cool on the spirit level, something gonna come up and test that theory. You're gonna get something that tests that theory. You know what I'm saying? And it typically comes out of nowhere. And whatever it is that's gonna test that theory is gonna be something that's supposed to trigger you. Physically, it would trigger you. But if you're looking at it on the spirit level, it don't trigger you because you understand, you know where this stuff is coming from, and you don't let it affect you. You know what I'm saying? This is the way I go by doing it. You know what I mean? This is one of the methods, another one of the methods that I use. You know what I mean? This is one of the methods that I use. You know, in my healing journey, you know what I mean? we 6 months in, and the stuff that I was looking for, it wasn't resonating coming from the people that cared the most. I'm gonna say that. I will go as far as to say that. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want nobody to think that what I'm saying, I don't want to lose you on what I'm saying, religion versus spirit versus what I was feeling at the time. I don't want you to feel like that, your support wasn't good enough. You know what I'm saying? All the support was good. I love the support because like I said, my spirit told me at that time where the solid support was, where the sincere support was, where the genuine support was, where all the support supposed to been, the support that wasn't physically there. I felt you when you were there. You know what I'm saying? On the spirit level. So I accept the fact that when people had came to me and said that, hey, I'm sorry I couldn't be there, man. I felt real bad and this, that, and the other. No, don't feel bad. I felt you there. You were there. You didn't know it, but you were there. And that's what I'm saying. When you pay attention to the spirit, it would tell you that. And so it was like I was on to something at that time, but I still wasn't locked in as much as I am now. Because like I said, it's still a working process. So at the time, it's like pretty much controlling your emotions, or what we would consider emotions. That's what you would be pretty much doing. You know what I mean? And so if you are able to do that in any kind of fashion, the more you are able to do that, the more you will feel the growth. But it's going to be something that's going to come in and it's going to test that, and sometimes it tested pretty good too though. And see, that right there at that point is where you are testing your strength at. You're going to test your strength in that moment right there. Everything that you've been working on internally and stuff is put to the test. You know what I'm saying? One thing you know is that falling back to the physical, where you feeling all low and crying and all that other stuff, that right there wouldn't be your first option. That right there is another thing that's going to show improvement. You know what I'm saying? That right there is going to be another thing that's going to show improvement. So that's what you want to look for when you trying to overcome something like that right there. You want to look at the stuff that normally would have set you off. It's not setting you off no more. Okay? You recognize those points right there as points of improvement. You know what I'm saying? Look at that right there as points of growth. Because believe you me, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at, listen, some of y'all are my Facebook friends, and you can go back and look at some of my videos that I did prior to any of this stuff right here. Trust me. You can look at them. They still there. I ain't going to take them down. But over time, you will be able to see, some type of change, whether for the good or for the bad, and that's what you want to do in this process right here. In this process right here, that's what you want to do. You want to keep on, making the situations that you're looking at that you would typically trip over. You want to look at those situations and say, hey, wait a minute, I'm strong enough to do that. I'm not that weak anymore. You know what I'm saying? And weak don't mean that you're sorry and all. It's not. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying weak in a way like you're weak. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying weak in a way like you can't handle it anymore. You can do it. You got it. Because if you're telling yourself that you can't handle it, then more than likely you won't be able to do it, because that's what you're telling yourself. Remember the power of the tongue. Whatever you tell yourself, that's what your body gonna react to. That's what the physical gonna react to. So, you gotta be stern in this right here, and you gotta hold yourself 10 toes down on this. And again, it's going to be people that might not agree with your method, but you doing what worked for you, okay? You're not doing what works for everybody else. You're going to do what was working for you, okay? This is what you're going to do. Because like I said, when at the time when I lost my son, and these people telling me who to look for, who to call on, and who to thank, all these entities that they're telling me about is on the outside of me. You know what I'm saying? All these entities is on the outside of me, and I can never find them. And guess what? I learned for myself. It was like, wait a minute. If I was still looking in all these other places for the relief that I have now, for at least up to the relief that I have now, the kind of relief that I have now, I would have never found it. I would have never found it going those other places like the other people were telling me to do. Because, like I said, up to that point, before I lost anything, I never found it before then in those places. It didn't matter who the speaker was. Like I said, you got some people out there that can hold a good sermon. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about when people are looking for something, sometimes you got to show them something physical that could match up with them on the spirit end. You see what I'm saying? You got to show them something physical that they could attach to something to say, okay, that makes sense now. You see what I'm saying? So, like, if you're going to talk to someone that have lost a child, the best thing to do is stay away from the symbolism. Stay away from the symbolism, because they can't hear that. It's hard to hear the symbolism in religion as it is just going every Sunday listening to the word and the different things that you have to watch, the music, the songs, everything that you have to go through in order to find out who you are. That's what I'm talking about. The stuff that you have to go through when you are inside those places to try to figure out who you are. See, a person that done lost a child, we not trying to hear all that. We not. See, and some people, they probably ducked and dodged the church or the Kingdom Hall, the mosque, whatever it was that they had to go to after doing that right there, man. They probably dodged that place for a long time. They couldn't go in there. They didn't feel like that was a place for them. They probably stayed away from that place for a very long time. That right there probably wasn't because that they physically wanted to. Their spirit wouldn't allow them to do that. And that right there is for a reason. And that's at that point, when my spirit did that for me, that's when I started to do the inside work. That's when I started paying attention to what my spirit was talking about, man. You know what I'm saying? And eventually the answer will come to you. You will attract the answer that you are looking for. Now, guess what? The answer that came to me didn't lead me back to the church, but your answer probably will. So don't take what I went, what my answer led me back to and rub it off on you and say that, hey, that's not the way it goes and all this other stuff. And, you know, hey, I'm telling you how the answer came to me. Okay. And it's going to come to you different. So when your answer come to you, don't let nobody tell you that ain't the answer, because that's the answer for you. You know what I'm saying? And so that was one of the other things that I respect. And in order for me to learn to respect that, I had to learn to agree with things. I had to learn to understand things that I did not agree with. That right there is going to be another tool that you might want to put inside your arsenal when you're trying to recover. You're going to have to, in that time where you are doing spirit work on yourself, in order for you to really graduate certain stages, you are going to have to be able to understand things that you do not agree with. And you're going to have to keep your lips zipped at that point when you don't agree with it, because that could be a triggering point where you want to jump in and say something, but you're doing the spirit work on yourself. So you don't jump in and say nothing. The physical want to jump in and say something. That ego want to jump in and say something. You know what I'm saying? You don't do it. You don't do it. You go against the ego. So the ego, in my opinion, just in my opinion, and depending on what situation you in, is the pitchfork and you know, and then you got the spirit, which would be the halo over here on your other side right here, right? Sometimes it feels good over here to follow that pitchfork. You know what I'm saying? But the halo gonna tell you what's right. So the pitchfork come in when that person come and trigger something in you that you don't agree with. But you got to be able to understand it. You got to be able to understand that, yeah, I don't agree with it, but that's where they are. That's just what they believe. Hey, who am I to tell them different? You know what I'm saying? So I said all that right there to say this right here, to say that I did a post the other day ago about communion. And the people, it's funny to me that the people that disagreed with this, with my take on it, when I start to line these attributes up, when I start to line up everything that they do, they all agreed. And then what they do, they fell back on a fallacy. And what was the fallacy, y'all? So my thing was, in communion, they got a cracker that represents a body, right? And then you got juice or wine that represent blood, right? And then they tell you that this right here body represents Jesus. So we're going to break the body and we're going to eat. Now, I'm just paraphrasing, y'all. Don't take my word. It's not word for word, okay? But this right here is what my spirit tells me when this is what I hear. This is what comes through my ears when they doing communion, okay? It might not come through your ears the same way. And so they're going to tell you to eat this cracker because this right here represent Jesus, which people said came down here on earth and roamed the earth as a being like me and you. So quite obviously, with the millions and billions of people that probably believe in this right here, is not enough pieces of Jesus human flesh to go around that people could nibble off of. So you use crackers as a representation that represent his body. You use crackers as a representation of his body. Cool, no problem. Now, it ain't enough of his blood to spill that people could drink. Do you get what I'm saying? That people could drink because he got the purest blood. You drunk his blood because his blood was the purest blood, right? Now, it wasn't enough blood to go around, so we had to get juice and we had to get wine, either or, to represent or symbolize his blood. And guess what? You drink it. So when I bring this right here to the people that disagree with me on that, when I bring that to their attention, you know what they tell me? Oh, nah, you can't, nah, it ain't, nah, see, you looking at it wrong. It ain't his body, that's a cracker. It ain't really his body, it's just a cracker. Oh, that's not really his blood, it's just juice. See, no, you misinterpreting it. It's just juice, man, it ain't his blood, it's just wine. No, I say, well, no, we know what it physically is. We know what it is. But when you represent it as something that it's supposed to be and you engage in that, what do you call that? So you telling me if this cracker right here was his actual body, his actual physical body, you would eat it because you said this right here is a representation of his body. You said that if this blood right here that we call juice and wine, if this was actually his, you're saying that you would drink it symbolically. You saying that you would do that. Then when I bring it back to you like that, you tell me, no, I'm wrong. And then when you come back with it, you're going to come with the resource that you got it from, which is the book. No problem. I want you to bring the book. Can somebody please explain to me this? Can somebody, you can get on the live. Please chime in and get on this live and please explain to me. And you can bring the book to explain to me too. You know, and so with these teachings right here, it didn't make no sense. You see what I'm saying? So like, if I wanted to use an analogy on how that right there would look symbolically, let's just use something that we use every day. Let's use money. If you look on your money, it got a whole bunch of symbolic meanings and all that other stuff on it. For people that don't see it that way, guess what? That right there is just a medium of exchange. I need money so I can get my food and my products and all that other stuff. But for other people that actually look into it on the spirit end, you can see inside there that there's certain things inside that money that mean certain things. But the way that they got it through to you is to say that, hey, we're going to give you this right here in replace of the gold. So on its face, the money was a representation of the gold. The dollar bills that you holding was supposed to be a representation of the gold. So it was good as gold. So that's why everybody wanted the dollar, because the dollar was as good as gold. I say that to say, when you tell me that this cracker and this wine is just as good as the real deal, that's essentially what you're doing. That's what you're doing. So when I bring it to you and I say that you're eating flesh and drinking the blood, you can't revert back and say, oh, no, that right there ain't, no, we eating crackers and drinking juice. No, because when you are doing that, right before you get ready to do that, you are fully aware of what you are doing, because the pastor, the person that's instructing you to do this, they are reading out of a book. And please stop me if I'm wrong. Stop me if I'm wrong. You are fully aware of what you are doing because the pastor or whoever the leader of that organization is doing communion, they are reading out of the book. They're reading out of the Bible or whatever book that they read out of before communion, and they're saying X, Y, and Z, and this right here represents the body of Jesus. We're going to break it, and then they break it at the sound of his voice, according to what he's reading, and then they go on, then we're gonna eat it. And then he goes into the next verse. And he say, hey, and with this right here is his blood. This right here is his blood. Right here. You know what I'm saying? And with this blood right here, and then he go read whatever it is that he read. I don't know the scripture or whatever it is that he say. I don't know it. But they read it, and then next thing you know, they drink it. So it's not merely just eating crackers and drinking juice. It got a symbolic spirit meaning, spiritual meaning behind it. Spiritual meaning behind it. You see what I'm saying? And so it's like, okay, what are you engaging in? Are you really engaging in that? And how does that help me? How does that help me? How does that help me figure out where my son is and how to connect back with my son? How does that help me? That's what I be wanting to know. But nah, let me see. Yeah, it didn't. It don't. And for the people that's in that position, it don't help them either, man. I'm not trying to be rude about it. And those people don't be trying to be rude about it, to be honest with you. They don't be trying to be rude about it. You know what I'm saying? They accept the support. They see the bigger end some of these people see the bigger end. Like I said, when you at that point, that right there is when you really dive in. But none of that stuff right there, it just. So when I'm looking for that kind of help to support me at a time like that, and to know that those right there are the type of practices that practice in a organization that supposed to help me learn who I am spiritually. That's not who I am spiritually. In the spirit sense, that's not who I am. I'm not somebody that would drink a pop and represent that as being blood. I'm not going to drink water and look at that water and represent that water as blood. Okay? The blood on a physical level, that right there is the closest thing to your soul that nothing get closer to your soul than your blood. If so, tell me what it is. Nothing get closer to your spirit on the physical end than your blood. Okay? And so for you to drink that or take it from somebody else, you know what I'm saying? You would think that right there would be crazy. The only time people will really take blood from somebody else today is typically in a life or death situation. You know what I'm saying? Where you need to get blood, or else where you need an emergency transfusion or something like that. And in some religions, that right there is forbidden. That's forbidden in some religions. You can't take blood in some of these religions for good reason, though. For good reason why you should not take that blood. Okay? It's reasons why you shouldn't take that blood. See, on the physical end, you saying, hey, I want to live. Give me what I need. On the spirit end, what you're doing is you mixing your blood with somebody else's. You mixing all type of spirit with yours. Directly in yours. So you done picked up on some other stuff that you probably don't know what you picked up on the spirit realm. But you didn't know that. You were just trying to live. Or you wasn't in tune with yourself. You wasn't in tune with your spirit enough to the tune to say, you know what? I'm good on that. It's another way. See, to each of his or her own. Some people felt like they was forced to take blood. No problem. Because they felt like it was a life or death situation. Now, whether it was a life or death situation, this is the tricky part about it. Whether it was a life or death situation, or rather you did it voluntarily, you still got sucked in. But the problem with is you don't know that if you're doing it voluntarily in a life or death situation. And the point where you're doing communion, you absolutely know what you're doing. You absolutely know what you're doing. Again, if somebody could prove me wrong, well, not necessarily prove me wrong. If somebody got something different, feel free to come on this live. And right now, you can come on right now. If you send me a request, I put you I add you in the live right now. And you could bring the book with you. Come on, man, and educate me. Educate me. Because I'm always open to the truth. And I'm being honest with you right now. The only thing I'm doing right now is just speaking my truth. You know, people want answers. That's what they want when they dealing with they loved one, when they dealing with a close relative. And when y'all take people through all these rigmaroles and all these mumble jumbos that you have to go through, it just throws people off. It throws them off. So they would not even rather deal with that realm. That's why I think many people, after the death of a close loved one or something like that, that's why I believe some of these people really turn away from what you call the word. Because they come on, what for what? For what? What is the point in turning back to something that you believed in your whole life, and then when it was time to deliver, it didn't? And you like, what? And you really believe this? And so now it's like, when you don't deliver, do I still believe that? You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't believe that. Okay? You wouldn't do it. And you fall into that reality, and a lot of people be scared to speak against that right there because of the type of backlash you will get from the people that actually believe. So when you go and you start talking to some of these people and you start talking like me, it make it seem like I don't believe in the Lord, or I don't believe in God, and I don't believe in what they believe in and stuff like that. When in all actuality, what I speak on, somebody is attaching what I'm saying, and they like, okay, yeah, he found Jesus. He found God. He found this person. See, we might be talking about the same people, but the interpretation is what I'm talking about. All I'm talking about here is the interpretation. If we talking about the same people, when y'all talking about Jesus and God and this person that I've been talking about these past couple Facebook lives and stuff that I've been doing, if we talking about the same person, when y'all can listen to me talk, if I'm talking about the same person that y'all look at as Jesus or the things that Jesus was talking about, then y'all could have told me in the terms that I'm speaking on. I can't understand it the other ways. We could be talking about the same person. All this stuff I've been talking about, y'all could look at this right here and say, man, listen, we talking about the same person. You just saying it in a different way. Well, this right here is the way that I can see it, because there's nothing being interpreted at that point. Everything can be justified. I can see it on the physical as well as justified with my spirit. It resonate with your spirit. The stuff that people tell you is going to resonate with your spirit. You know what I'm saying? Just like I was talking to a family member of mine yesterday, and I was telling them, I said, when your kids lying to you, right? Your kids could tell you something, and it just don't sit well. Your spirit gonna tell you right off the bat that ain't right. And you gonna follow what your spirit say. You don't care what's coming out your kid's mouth. You know it ain't right. You see what I'm saying? I said it didn't sit well with your spirit, so strong to where you just knew it wasn't right. Now, it's going to be times where you're going to look at that same child and you're going to know that child, even though that child may be a problem child or always doing different things, always in trouble, you're going to know that when this right here situation happened, this child ain't have nothing to do with that. I know this child ain't have nothing to do with that right there. And you gonna know this right here, because your spirit connects. You see what I'm saying? You gonna know this. That's what I'm talking about when it comes down to the realm of connection. When it comes down to the people that's gonna tell you to stay in this realm of this Jesus, and this person's on the outside of you, versus somebody that say, no, stop looking on the outside of you and look on the inside of you. If you pay attention, you're going to get the answer. It tells you all the time. That voice is always speaking to you all the time. That voice right there. And when you go past that voice and you don't listen to that voice, as an example that I gave my cousin that I was talking to yesterday, as an example, when you get that, when that voice tells you something and you go against that voice and you mess up, it's a good chance you're going to say, man, I should have followed my first mind. Now, what do you think that first mind was? What is that first mind that you say when you make that statement, man, I should have followed my first mind? What was your first mind? What is that? How many minds do you really have? You got many minds? Do you got one mind? How many minds do you have? See, your first thought. You have many thoughts. You said, man, you ain't say I should have followed my first thought. You said I should have followed my first mind, meaning your spirit. Absolutely. You see what I'm saying? That right there, after you done followed your mind, your spirit is what you're talking about. You forget about that right there for the time being until you need it again. Meantime, between time, that thing's still running. That thing's still running like clockwork, 24/7. 24/7. When you go to sleep, that thing's still running. That spirit is still running. That spirit never stops. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is what they mean in the spirit realm, that it never dies. Because think about it for a minute. In order for my spirit to work right now, you will know this because I'm talking to you right now. So my spirit is speaking right now. You know what I'm saying? You can hear me right now. If I didn't have a spirit, I wouldn't be here talking, right? But when you're not talking, you can still hear that spirit talking. When you go to sleep, you can still hear that spirit. In fact, you moving with it and you can feel it when you go to sleep. And you call it a dream. You be in different places. And I had a dream. I was over whatchamacallit house and whatchamacallit was there and this person was there. And yeah, you were there. You were there, but you called it a dream and you wrote it off. You were there. You called it a dream and you wrote it off. Same thing like I said when you daydream. You see what I'm saying? It's that same spirit. If you notice, that spirit never said that I went to sleep. That spirit, if you pay attention, you would notice that that spirit never went to sleep. That spirit never said that it was tired. That spirit always told you what to do. It always told you what to do. And when you didn't pay attention to it, in some cases, not in all, but in some cases when you didn't pay attention to it, you wish that you had. But by that time, it was too late. And you said, man, I should have followed it. And you didn't do it. You went right back inside your physical instead of saying, wait a minute, next time I'm going to just follow my mind. Next time I'm going to just do this. Next time I'm going to just do that. Sometimes some might say, hey, you know what? Once you made it home, stay in the house. Don't go back outside for nothing. Just stay in the house and, just wait till tomorrow morning and get the things that you need. You go against that and you say, nah, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go just for a ride, just for a cruise, get out the house. You go do some stuff like that right there, and then something happens to where now you probably have to get your vehicle towed back to the house. You know what I'm saying? Something might happen to where it's out of your control and it puts you in a bad situation. Let's just say that. You know what I'm saying? And what you're going to say, man, I knew I should have stayed at home. Something told me to just stay at home. You get somewhere, think you about to have a good time, people start fighting. Man, I should have stayed at home. Something told me to stay at home. What was that something that told you to stay at home? Pay attention to that something. Stop writing that something off. You see what I'm saying? You are being told that something you gonna find in the Bible. That something right there that you're saying, that something that told me, that right there is what they're telling you, from what I gather, is what they tell you to look for on the outside of you. You know what I'm saying? Something is going to tell you. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I got a person right here that said, when we got into that car accident, I knew it. My spirit told me clear as day. I even visioned it, but I blew it off. And you know what? Same thing happened here with me. Some told me, man, just get in your truck, man. You could go ahead and, you could take her home. You know what I'm saying? But no, I went against it anyway. And I even had other people, like, come on, cuz we just gonna drop such and such off, man. We coming right back, man. Come on, man. And we just chilling. Okay, man. All right, man. Going against my greater good, you know what I'm saying? And I did that right there. And 15 minutes later, we flipping over on top of other cars. Flipping over. It was a one car. All done by one car. And we flipping over on other cars. Flipping over on other cars. And we didn't have control over that. What we had control over is whether we got inside that car first or not. You see what I'm saying? That's what we had control over, whether we got inside that car or not. So now this right here is where accountability would come in at on your spirit, because on the physical end, you would turn around, you would look at that and you would say, dang, that was messed up. They got hurt and all this other stuff. Yeah. But guess what? The way that my spirit is set up, my spirit, that right there was a spirit guide that told me not to get in that truck. And my spirit guide, after I made it through everything, told me, I told you so. You should never got in there. It didn't feel sorry for me. I'm going to let you know that right now. My spirit guide did not feel sorry for me. And when you run into these spiritual guides, they not going to feel sorry for you when they done told you, because you're not paying attention. Because you ain't go by your first mind. There was a spirit guide telling you that don't do it. Or go ahead, go with it, because, hey, you got this. That was a spirit guide. He's going to say, no, don't do it. Go ahead, go do it. Or, hey, chill out and let it see how it play out. Let me show you how it's going to play out. You see what I'm saying? Did you listen to it? Did you listen to it? So, in these cases right here, I'm listening to my spirit guides. And they telling me certain things. Man, listening to my spirit guides have saved a lot of people. I've saved a lot of people lives. by listening to my spirit guides. I have saved a lot of people's lives simply by listening to my spirit guides. Y'all don't have no idea. Yeah. So pay attention to that right there, man. You know what I'm saying? Look at the situation that you about to get yourself into, and whatever situation you about to get yourself into, more than likely, if you're paying attention to yourself and you're not just going off of what I gotta do and all this other stuff, and you listen to that spirit guide that's in here, it's gonna tell you what to do. That's how you get the answer. The answer is right there. So when I start paying attention to that, I start getting more answers from there. But then I started looking at the root of it, like, okay, well, where is these answers coming from? People will say, oh, you getting those answers from God. They coming from Jesus. They coming from you getting the answers. And you know what? I will accept that. I will accept that. If that's who that spirit is that's in me, when I tell you that that voice inside me is speaking, if y'all want to call that voice God, I'll accept that. No problem. Absolutely. Because now I know where you're coming from. See, y'all had me thinking that God was this spirit that was on the outside of me. Y'all had me believing that God was this spirit that was in the sky that was waiting for me to ascend so he could judge me based upon what I was doing down here on earth. You never told me that you told me that God was in me, but that's all you said. Like it was in me, like it was mixed in me. It wasn't me, but it was in me. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like your chromosomes from your parents. You got chromosomes from both parents. They're in you. You're not your parents. You get what I'm saying? So that's the way it was presented. Like God was in me. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't presented like he was me. Because the more and more you look at it, you are him. You are God. You are the creator. You are the one that bring in creation. What do you call it when a man and a woman brings life forward? You know what I'm saying? When a man and a woman brings life forward, that is creation. Those are gods, man. Those are gods. You are bringing forth creation in its purest form. That's the thing. You're bringing something out of the spirit realm and you're bringing it back into the physical realm in its purest form as a baby, as a child. And that right there is a gift that you have. You see what I'm saying? When you bring a child into the world, that right there is the purest thing to spirit in the physical realm. Do anybody want to challenge that? In the physical realm, a baby, a newborn baby, is the closest thing to purity in the spirit realm, in the physical realm. You see what I'm saying? And you got the ability to produce that. You are the God. The answer is in you. But it make it harder for you to figure that out because you looking for this answer, and you, like I told you, some of these answers that you're going to get, you're not going to get them in a book. That's why I keep telling people. So when you come with the book to try to prove your answer, at times you might lose the people that are connected with their spirit because you're referring to a book for your answers. They're referring to their spirit. These answers that you find in your spirit, you are not going to find in a book. You're not going to find these answers in no book. You're going to find them answers within. And that right there is why I felt it probably would have been harder for me to try to overcome the physical end of what happened to my son, because I'm still looking for me. I haven't found me. And if I haven't found me, I can't find nothing. You got to find you first. You got to get grounded in yourself first before you can start making the right choices. If you're not grounded in you, then it's a good chance you're not going to see the things that you need to see. And the people are going to show you what you need to see. And if you're grounded, you're going to have guys that navigate you through that, because not everything you see is typically wrong. You know what I'm saying? Not everything you see is necessarily wrong. It's just from somebody else's viewpoint. You know what I'm saying? It's just from somebody else's viewpoint. And you gotta, if you're gonna be open-minded about that, how you gonna, like, again, you're gonna be able to have to understand things that you don't agree with. You know what I'm saying? In order to see a bigger picture. But if you're not able to understand things that you don't agree with, you will never be able to see the bigger picture. You're going to have a one-track mind. Whatever it is that you think is right is going to be right, and then that's it, and that's the end of discussion up until you run into that brick wall. And then you have to come back and people say, well, I was trying to tell you, but it wasn't no getting through to you. Now, see, to be rational means to be able to take your belief system, look at something else that contradicts your belief system, make sense out of it, and say, you know what, I can see that. And then you look back at your belief system and say, and you start questioning certain things. Hey, wait a minute. You said this, but looking at it why would you do that? Now, like I said, a baby is the closest thing, purity, to the spirit realm and coming back to the physical realm. They the closest thing to purity in the physical realm, coming from the spirit realm. Okay? Can you imagine drinking your child's blood? We don't do that unless you cannibal, unless you're a vampire or something like that. You don't agree with that, with those practices. You know? And so to have to go through all that, to have to read all these different books, and you're not reading them all in a row. You reading them according to the point that you're trying to make. And so now the word is being distorted because you're teaching me the word in different portions. You know what I'm saying? You teaching me the word in different pockets to go along with whatever the story is that you're telling for that sermon or that scripture or whatever it is. Meantime, between time, I'm trying to figure out, how do I connect with my son? Some people trying to figure out, how do they connect with they parent, with some of their siblings. They want to know this stuff, man. They hurting, and they ain't got time to be talking no Peter and Job and all this other stuff. You know how many people told me I need to read the book of Job? I haven't read it yet, y'all. I really haven't. But I haven't read the book of Job. You know what I'm saying? Because, see, here's the thing. I got the book of Jerome that I'm dealing with right now. You see what I'm saying? It's hard for me to understand the book of Job, and I don't understand the book of Jerome yet. That's what be going through people's mind when they sitting back quiet. They trying to understand a book about themselves, whether they know it or not. When they go back into that sunken quiet space where they ain't answering no phone calls, they ain't going by nobody's houses. If company come by, that's fine. But in some cases, they might not even be participating in company and stuff like that. Guess what? They going down the book of themselves. They not looking at that Bible no more. In fact, they probably more than likely got a beef. They got a resentment toward that Bible at that point. They got a resentment toward God at that point. They got a resentment toward all that religious stuff at that point. At some point in time, even a person with the most sincerest heart can get chewed out, coming to a person that's hurting after losing their child, coming to them talking about the Lord and God this and God that. You liable to get chewed out. And I'm just being honest, you know, listen, you liable to get told off for that, because that person ain't hearing that. I'm being honest with you. If y'all paid attention to my son's funeral, if y'all looked at it, for those that looked at it, if y'all paid attention to my son's funeral, shortly after I spoke, somebody, I don't know who it was, somebody got up right behind me and they fell right back into the Lord stuff. And man, I got up and walked out. And I didn't mean that in no disrespect to the person that was talking, but I got up and walked out because that was hard to hear. That was very hard to hear. I'm in the house of the Lord right now, right? So now I got a couple questions that I want to ask you, God. But if you in the house of the Lord, the people in there that go along with that organization, you know what they tell you? You don't never question God. You ain't supposed to question God. You supposed to just believe. You supposed to just believe, okay? Don't question God. You get yourself in some trouble. Don't question it. Don't question it. Don't question it. And I have a problem with that, because why would this all-loving, almighty God would not want you to come to him? You come to him for everything else. Why you can't ask that all-loving, mighty God the who, what, whens, where, whys, and hows? Why you can't do that? You know what I mean? And so when you do stuff like that, what you do is y'all leave room in there for what y'all say, quote unquote, the devil or the serpent to slip right in there and try to make sense out of it and say that's because he don't want you to know what he know. You see what I'm saying? See how that work? Yeah, we're going to put the serpent in there. Now we're going to start talking about the devil and all this other stuff. So if I'm listening to that story and you say, hey, wait a minute, why come I can't know that stuff? The devil come in and say, hey, you can know it. Only thing you got to do is eat from that tree right there. If you eat from that tree right there, you would know it. You would know everything that he know. Oh, yeah? They go over there and they eat from the tree. The person that knew that they was naked wanted to know, how did you know that you was naked? And these people, like, the people that ate from the tree is like, nah, we know we naked. So you look back at the serpent and say, wait a minute, did the serpent really lie? Or did the serpent tell the truth? The serpent told him you would know what he know. He knew that you was naked. You didn't know you was naked. But when you ate, you knew that you was naked. The same thing that he knew. Where did the lie come in at? See, the words, the symbolism, and all this stuff in that, you know what I'm saying? It pulls you so far away from who you supposed to be. Because now you still got those same people that say, hey, you're not supposed to know that. You're not supposed to know that. This is the reason why we don't deal with psychic mediums. This is the reason why we don't deal with voodoo and witchcraft and all that other stuff. When in some form of it, you are dealing with some type of witchcraft, voodoo, some type of spiritual rituals or something like that, because you're eating the body and you're drinking the blood. I challenge anybody to prove me wrong. You're eating the body and you're drinking the blood. You involved in something. You ain't do that because you had an appetite. You ain't eat one cracker and drink this little bitty thing of juice because you was hungry and you needed something to wash the cracker down with. That was symbolic for something that you were doing. Okay? Now, whether you realize that or not, it's symbolic for something. Okay? And they could pamper it down. They could say whatever they want to say to get you to accept that. And if you do, hey, that's on you. But you have been told that you are doing something. It's a practice. It's a practice somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So if you on the spirit realm and they're telling you to stay away from voodoo, stay away from witchcraft, stay away from psychic mediums and all that other stuff right there, once you start to learn the spirit, you're going to learn the good and bad. Y'all remember a couple videos back, I told y'all I was trying to connect with my spirit and stuff like that. And I would try so I can get in touch with my son, because I knew that right there is how I would reach him on the spirit end. I can't reach him on the physical end no more. I got to reach him on the spirit end, right? Remember when I told y'all that when I went to go do that, I bargained for some stuff that I didn't see coming. When I went to look for my son spiritually on the spirit realm, and I found him on the spirit realm, I've been doing everything and practicing everything, you know what I'm saying, in terms of the work on myself to get back to that point, right? And in doing that right there, you start seeing other spirits. It's other spirits that start coming up out of this right here, outside of what you went to go look for. You start to see spirits and other people all the way around you. When you go into different environments, you start to see it. And when I say spirits, I don't mean spirits like demons and stuff like that. I'm talking about you start to recognize the spirit in other people. You know what I'm saying? You start to feel the energy and spirit of other people when you're doing this right here. You know what I'm saying? And that ain't even what you bargained for. You went in so you can feel the spirit of your son, but it unlocks a whole, board of stuff. It unlocks a whole nother thing, a whole nother group. You're not just going in there just looking for your loved one. When you connect with your loved one, you done connected with that realm. Everything comes with that realm. Just like on the physical realm, you got the good and you got the bad. Down here, we call them righteous and unrighteous. Up there, you might want to call them angels and demons, but they in the spirit. That's why they call the angels and the demons. That's the way we interpret them physically. We interpret them physically as angels, the good ones. And the bad spirits, we consider them demons. But when you learn your spirit, I'm going to let you know right now, you're going to be able to see them both. You're going to be able to recognize both. And you're not going to see them with these eyes right here. So when I say you're going to see them, you're not going to see them with your physical eyes. If the church would have told me this right here a long time ago, I'd have said, okay, now we getting somewhere. I didn't learn this. I learned this right here by doing the work on myself. I didn't learn that out the church. And that's the reason why I say I'm not talking against the church or anything. I'm just telling you that I didn't learn that through there. I had to learn that by going inside. And when I found that person and that, I'm telling you, it sent me somewhere else. And guess what? When you try to tap out of being that person that you found on that spirit end, and you look back up and you try to snap yourself back into reality, you're going to realize that nothing looks the same. Everything is still in place, same way it was before you started. Nothing moved. Everything is still 100% in place the way it was before you started. Guess what? Not no more. You're going to look at that same exact situation and you're going to have a different set of eyes that you're looking at it from, because it ain't going to be these physical eyes that you're looking at it from. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. That's in you, y'all. That's in you. That's going to be in you. When I went to searching for that right there, after searching for it so many times on the outside, and I actually sat and paid attention, man, yes, that's the shortcut to it. Now, like I said, for the people that needs Jesus, for the people that needs the church, for the people that need the Bible and all that other stuff like that right there, that is where they are supposed to be. They absolutely need it, because they still need help on figuring out that person that I'm trying to describe right now. They still need help on trying to figure out who that better person is that I'm talking about right now that resides in you. And when you find that person, you're going to realize that that person that's inside of you needs a whole lot of work. It needs a whole lot of work. And that right there is what you're going to wrestle with right there. Doing that type of work. When you find that person, and you're going to know it. Only you going to know it though, but you're going to know it for sure, for sure. When you find that person, the type of work that needs to be done is going to take a disciplined person to do it. And that disciplined person got to be you. You ain't gonna find nobody to do the type of work on the inside of you that need to be done on the outside. Nobody from the outside gonna come in and do that work that need to be done on the inside of you, because only you know how deep that work runs. You know what I'm saying? Only you know the scope of the magnitude of how deep the work inside of you needs to be done. That's something that you have to do on your own. That's why I be trying to tell people, when I was doing the work, you know what I'm saying? And I'm currently doing it right now. Part of me doing the work is, and part of I'm going through self-therapy. And part of that right there is me getting on live talking to y'all. I use this right here. This is one of the methods that I use as therapy. A lot of people say that, hey, you need to go to therapy. Well, when you go to therapy, guess what they do? They just listen to you talk about this whole thing over and over again. You ain't getting nowhere. They just sitting right there looking at you. So I figure if I'm going to talk about this whole thing over and over and over and over and over, hopefully I can get it out to, you know, let it help somebody. You know what I'm saying? So you could understand where I'm coming from. You know what I'm saying? There is no ill will intent that I mean when I say something that might not benefit or favor people that do the church or go to church and all this other stuff. I'm not saying nothing ill will about y'all. Okay? I'm not saying nothing about that, but I'm just letting you know that for people that have lost kids and loved ones that's really close to them, that they done been attached to, like super attached to, they don't hear that. That's not the answer that they looking for. They want to know where they loved one is. Is they all right? What happened? What is it more that could have been done to prevent this right here? You know what I'm saying? Like, they need answers. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And when they looking for these answers, you're going to turn and say, okay, I got that answer for you. And you're going to say, turn to John chapter 9, verse 3 and 4, and turn to Numbers. We need you to go to Numbers. I got something for that. And then thy said, when thou shalt come in great tears and listen, that is not resonating with the person. That they don't hear that. I'm telling y'all that right now. They don't hear it. They don't hear it. What they are doing is they are going through a deep reset. If they quiet, you leave them alone. If they isolate it off, you leave them alone. Because again, like I told you, they looking at the work that they got to do within themselves in order to try to overcome that. Okay. And sometimes that right there requires them to section themselves off. And for the people that haven't did that work within themselves, when you go to do that work on yourself and you have to really kneel down into doing that, the people that haven't did the work in themselves, you know what they're going to say? They're going to say that you acting funny. They're going to talk not in the best light about you. Okay? They're not going to say nothing good about you. They're going to think that you mad at them. It's going to be all type of stuff that they're going to come around and say, when simply you just doing work that your spirit telling you to do. You ain't said nothing to nobody. You ain't told nobody that you ain't doing nothing. But see, that's what I mean by when you start to do the spiritual work on yourself, you're going to start to see it in everybody else. You know what I'm saying? The reaction from other people. When you only doing what's right for your spirit. You only doing what's right for your spirit. The fact that they can get mad at you, and that right there wasn't your intent. You was just really just doing your own work. You was just doing work on your own. You was just doing your own work because it's your own path. It's your own path. So you was doing your own work, and somebody got mad at you for doing that. That speaks a lot about their spirit. You need to pay attention to that. That's why I was trying to tell y'all. You pay attention to people's spirit. That's the type of stuff that stands out. That's the type of stuff that stands out. That's where you could start at. The stuff that stands out. Because once you start right there on the spirit end, on paying attention on the stuff that stands out, because you made a move and you ain't open up your mouth to nobody, and somebody interpreted that right there as you doing something against them, You pay attention to that. When somebody make themselves the victim at your hands because you decide to better yourself. Pay attention to that. That right there is what's going to stick out. That's the first part of it. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. You're going to feel that right there in your chest cavity the moment it happens. Do the work on yourself. Watch what I tell you. And then after that right there, you're going to be able to be able to tell without them even saying nothing at all. Without them saying nothing at all. I've had people that sat right next to me that I could feel the envy off of them. Close people, by the way. I told y'all it's going to be the closest people. These people are going to be the closest one to you because they know how you move. And guess what? I felt the envy off the energy. I felt the envy of energy off the person sitting right next to me. And you know what I said? Absolutely nothing. I kept on talking and kept on going like everything else was like everything was everything. You know what I'm saying? And guess what that did? That made the envy get even stronger for that other person. That envy, sometimes that envy can get so strong to where it'll make you turn on the person. You wonder why that person switched up on you like that. And you're like, damn, only thing I meant was good. It was the envy that person had for you. People got envy. Close people to you, they got envy for you, man. You know what I'm saying? And envy doesn't always, mount up to hate. Envy doesn't always mount up to hate. You know what I'm saying? Envy just simply, is some people are jealous. They want what you have. They want that. You know what I'm saying? You might not think that you're in a good situation, but some people want that. You know what I'm saying? And when they can't get that, jealousy, you know what I'm saying, become a virtue. That becomes a virtue, you know what I'm saying? So, your spirit, once you tie yourself in to your spirit gonna let you know those people. Trust me. Your spirit gonna let you know those people. Yeah. Your spirit is gonna stand out. I'm telling you. And it do it at times. It just depends on how strong it is. You know what I'm saying? It do it all the time. It just depends on how strong it is. So for instance, let's just say for instance, somebody walked in a room and you didn't have a good feeling about them. That was strong. You recognize it. It stood out. Your spirit talked to you. Now, when it's not that strong is what you're looking for. But however, if you haven't did the work on yourself to be able to see this stuff, it's going to run past you every single time. It's going to run past you every single time. So I was doing work on myself. I've been doing work on my spirit. I've been doing work, you know what I'm saying, to the point to where when people say, your son is in the hands of the Lord and stuff like that. Let Jesus be with you and your family. I'm able to look at those same people and say, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your blessing. You know what I'm saying? I'm able to look at it and say that now because I know what they mean now. I have a better understanding from a spirit standpoint from the work that I did within myself. So when people say, come at you with those church, he's covered in the blood of Jesus. I know what you mean. I know what you mean in the spirit way. I hear what you're saying in the physical, but if I didn't do the work on myself, then it would throw me off every time. And I would resent the word of God every single time because I didn't have an understanding in my spirit about what it was that you were talking about, because everything is symbolic when you dealing with religion, when you dealing with church, instead of just coming straight to me and give me the straight rundown. Hit me with the facts. You know what I'm saying? I'm the person that you don't sugarcoat nothing with, because when you do that right there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right behind you and I'm going to pick it apart and I'm going to say, so in other words, and if you hear me say, if you ever talking to me and you ever hear me say in other words, that means that I'm about to come and I'm about to drop it to you raw on what you're saying that you're covering up. And I always speak for the biggest end in other words. Talk to me in other words. You know what I'm saying? And if you start talking to people in other words, then guess what? People know what they're dealing with. But see, when you dealing with the Bible, and when you dealing, and just to even mention the Bible or say something against it, man, you know how many thumbs down I'm gonna get on this video for doing that? You know how many people that I would lose support from just for saying the stuff that I'm saying? And it ain't even for that right there, though. You know what I mean? It's because we have been indoctrinated, that we have been told that you don't question that. And the very people that tell you not to question the things that you want to know about, they don't have the answers for you either. They ain't got the answers for you either. You want to go to the source to get the answer, because that's what you want. You want some answers. They not going to point you toward that. Nobody pointed me toward the answers. Because you know why? They would tell you, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say. I want to come over. I want to tell you this. It's just that when I see you, I don't know what to say when I see you. You know what I'm saying? Or this, that, and the other. So you don't have the answer. I'm telling you what the answer is. Because if you had the answer, then I'm pretty sure church and all them other places would have been right there. But you know what? Even in your spirit, you knew that I wouldn't accept that. And when you was talking to them, the other people that lost they kids and stuff like that at that point, you knew you couldn't tell them that. Your spirit wouldn't allow you to tell them that. Even though you may have felt that way, you couldn't tell a grieving parent that at that time. You couldn't. They ain't necessarily have to be me. But no grieving parent at that time you could have told that to. And so people are looking for avenues and looking for ways to come up out of that, man. Because I'm telling you, it's tight. That's why I went looking for, y'all. When this stuff happened to my son 6 months ago, I ain't have no avenue to turn to. I ain't have no avenue to really turn to. I had a lot of support. But on the spirit realm, on the spirit end, I ain't have nowhere to turn to. I couldn't turn to nobody. So in turn, that made me just listen to that little voice that was in myself. And I'm just, hey, you listen to it. And then the more and more you listen to it, you be like, hey, wait a minute. Then you be like, wait a minute, you own to something. And then you start thinking about it. And then sometimes it take that voice that's in your head to talk to you rough. Because a lot of times that's what it started doing. And I figure what better way for my spirit, at least for me, to talk to me like that. Who you think you is, spirit, talking to me like that at a time when I feel down. Spirit said, I don't care who you think. This is what it is, man. What is you doing? What are you doing to yourself? That's what Spirit said to me. What are you doing to yourself? You know your son is with you in your spirit, within spirit. You done actually seen your son. Your spirit has seen your son since he has been remanded to us. You have seen your son on the spirit end. Why you still hurting yourself down there like that? Why are you doing it? This is what my spirit tells me. Why are you down there doing it? You know that's not where he at. You know that's not where he at. Why are you doing this to yourself? Why? Spirit, how can you talk to me like that, man? I'm feeling down, man. I'm sitting up here going through stuff, man. I have to go look through headstones. I have to think about what I'm going to do when I get to his grave. I still ain't been to his site and all this other stuff. Spirit said, so? But I'm hurting right now, man. I'm hurting. I just feel like I want to cry right now. I feel like I feel like all my work that I did, it went in vain, and you know, there isn't enough acceptance, there ain't enough hugs, it ain't enough cars, there's not enough money, there's not enough anything that could take me through this right here. So why you still worried about it? That's what Spirit tell you. You like, man, listen. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you, Spirit? Do you get what I mean? It's like The spirit don't understand none of that stuff because you all talking in physical. You talking in the physical, and that's what I'm saying. When you do the spirit work on yourself, you will understand that, man. You would understand that. And when you don't do this, the spirit part of yourself, when you don't do that work on yourself, you ain't gonna understand it. You're gonna fight against it. And when it's time to really look at yourself, you're gonna realize that you got more stuff piled on your plate that you need to deal with internally. So much stuff that some people don't even think to deal with it. They rather go find them somebody else and try to ignore that part of their life that they ain't got to deal with no more. You know what I'm saying? They ignore it. They go find somebody else, and they put a lot of stuff, what they say, in the closet. Some of this stuff that these people deal with, they say, hey, I'm going to take it to my grave before I say anything about this right here. Those are the people right there that ain't going to never deal with their spirit in and stuff like that. Hey, when you will know about those people too. Your spirit going to tell you about those people too. I'm telling you, that's the quiet part that your spirit gonna tell you about, because them people ain't gonna tell you about the skeletons in their closet because they ain't not willing to do the work. And those kind of people, I'm gonna tell you what kind of people those people are. Those people, they gonna lie to you. They gonna lie to you. They gonna cheat. They gonna steal. They ain't gonna take accountability. You know what I'm saying? They gonna point the blame. You know what I'm saying? It's not their fault. It's never their fault. The reason why they did this is because you did that. And yeah, there's going to be those people right there. You know what I'm saying? Start with those people right there. Because I'm telling you, when it was a couple things that I had to do. For one, I had to, again, learn to understand things that I didn't agree with. And then two, I had to take accountability for the things that may have been on my end that I probably did or didn't agree with. That's the thing. You're taking accountability on both ends, on the stuff that you agree with and the stuff that you don't agree with. You got to do it both ways. There is no in between. There is no one or the other. You got to do it both ways. This is what I did. This is what my spirit was telling me that you had to do. You know what I'm saying? You got to take accountability, and you got to be able to understand these things. You got to understand why certain things happen. See, on the physical end, the physical end would tell a different story. The physical end would say that you had a drunk driver that was speeding and he collided and he did this right here. On the physical end, that's what it would say. And indeed, that is what happened. You know, that's what you could physically see and everything. But on the spirit end, when you start to learn spirit gonna tell you a different story. The spirit ain't gonna go to you about no car crashes or nothing like that. What the spirit will tell you is something like, well, your son, and it's going to be, this right here is crazy. They'll say stuff like this right here. And I have heard it. In fact, I'll play it for you, you know, if I can find it. But I've heard this right here where they've told me your son made pretty much like a sacrifice of his life because the person that did this to your son, life needed to be reformed. I was told that. I was told that my son lost his life to save multiple people, to save his daughter, his sister, his little sister, to save his mama. And the dude that did this, they said that his life needed to be reformed because he had a lot going on. They just ran him down. He's a trouble guy. You know what I'm saying? People done been into it with him many a times. He done went down this path. He been down this path many a time. It was like a fed up type of deal. Like, you know what I'm saying? I told you so's, and he ain't listening to nobody. You know what I'm saying? And his life needed to be reformed on many different levels. And so that's what I'm saying. When you start to dig inside your spirit and your spirit tells you something like that right there, you gonna try to figure out what you talking about. The person that did this right here to my child, his life needed to be reformed at the cost of my son's life. So physically that don't make no sense. But on the spirit realm, on the spiritual realm, that's what they're gonna tell you. He saved some lives, including the one that did it. His life was spared too. But this right here was awakening for him. Because he had things going on within himself that needed to be corrected as well. So the spirit don't see, the fact that somebody is, negligent in whatever caused the crossing over of a person. The spirit don't see that. I didn't know that though, y'all. I didn't know that. And that right there was hard for me to listen to. That was hard to stomach. You know what I'm saying? But these are the answers. And when you listen to a spirit, on the spirit end, it will make sense. But you have to be connected in yourself in order to see this though, man. You have to be connected in yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can't be attached to this church. You can't be attached to deacon this and brother that and pastor this. You see what I'm saying? Unless you just need that extra edge to like get you over. Yeah, they are tools to be used to get you to where to get you to where you need to go. You know what I'm saying? They are tools. That's what they are. Those are tools to try to help get you back into the spiritual person of who you are, to get you back to where you need to go. I'm going to tell you, man, when you start looking at that stuff, it's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. My son, if I sit up here, man, and guess what? I could sit up here with y'all and I could play the victim role. Listen, when you start learning, let me tell you this right here. Let me tell you about that victim role too now, y'all. Let me tell you about the victim role and spirit. When you get connected with your spirit, it kind of like teaches you and guides you to come up out that victim mentality. So even though on the physical end, by right, yeah, absolutely by right, you're going to be, considered a victim. But I tell people all the time, you don't want to stay in that right there, because victims lose. Okay, so you don't want to be a victim. Victims lose. Victim lose. If you think about it, in order for you to be a victim, something got to happen to you. In order for you to be a victim of something got to happen to you. So you don't want to be a victim. You want to stay out that realm. This is what Spirit says. Spirit says that you don't want to stay in that victim realm. You don't want to stay in that victim realm, because when you stay in that victim realm, the things that come associated with being a victim gonna keep on coming. It's gonna keep on flourishing. So you want to stay away from that. Okay? That's what Spirit told me. And so every time when I was told that came to me first, before I'm telling y'all, that right there came to me first. And so after I knew that, guess what could have happened? After I knew that, when Spirit told me that right there, guess what? To y'all didn't know. So I could have came back on this thing talking my son this, and he did this to my son. And guess what? I'd have got a whole bunch of likes. I'd have got a whole bunch of shares, and everybody would have understood where I was coming from and everything. And you wouldn't have been able to tell. Some of y'all wouldn't have been able to tell. You see what I'm saying? And guess what? Physically, I wanted to do just that, because physically I wanted to cry. Not for attention and not for victimization, but it's because of what I felt, because of my attachment to my child. I'm really missing my child. You know what I'm saying? But when you learn Spirit and Spirit tell you that, once you know that, it's like you can't do that. Your spirit won't allow you to do that. You got to come being real. You know what I'm saying? You gotta speak your progress into existence. You gotta let people know that, hey, you know this stuff right here. No, you're not trying to play victim. No, you getting stronger by the days. You know what I'm saying? You're not about to stay in this right here, man. You can't stay in this area, because you know what happens to victims. Be a victor. You got to be a victor. You see what I'm saying? You got to be the one that shine. You know what I'm saying? You got to be the one that stand tall. Even through faces of adversity, Spirit told me that, you know what I'm saying? And so if I'm going to be that person, or if I had to be what Spirit was telling me to be, man, I couldn't be up in here, I couldn't be sitting up in here, acting like I didn't know this and playing victim role, because at that point now, even though it to spirit is playing victim, to y'all understand it because he just lost a child. They just lost, that parent just lost a child. Or that child just lost a parent. You understand they pain. Don't say nothing to them. The only reason why they being belligerent and acting out of spite and all the other stuff, because they lost man, listen, Spirit told me that's no excuse to act that way. That's what Spirit told me. And so for me, I couldn't, my spirit wouldn't allow me to act in a belligerent manner when I lost my child over time. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't allow me to, keep the type of pressure all the way on 10 like that. You know what I'm saying? Spirit told me, said, hey, what you need to do is stop worrying about this and start worrying about your health. That's what Spirit told me to start worrying about my health. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't thinking about my health, you know what I'm saying, at that time. And this right here is, like I said, I was doing a lot of work on myself. You know what I'm saying? I was doing a whole lot of work on myself at this time. This right here is the beginning stages of me doing work. Only thing Spirit kept on telling me was work on yourself. Look out for your health. Stop doing everything else. Work about your health. Your son telling you, don't worry about nothing else. Think about your health. Think about your health. Everything running back to me. Think about your health. Man, I look up, I'm 40 doggone pounds lighter than I was back in November. I didn't even know that, man. I lost over 30 pounds. Over 30 pounds, man, I done lost. I done lost 30, almost 40 pounds from the time I lost my son. And I didn't even know that. But when I start to listen to my spirit and I jump on the scale and see where I was, and I'm 40 pounds lighter than what I was, oh my God. And then you turn around, you take a shower and everything, and then you turn around and you look in the mirror, man. When you look in the mirror at your naked body and you look at man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't like what I seen. I'm going to be honest with you. I looked in the mirror. I physically looked in the mirror at myself months later, and I did not like what I seen. I'm being honest with y'all. So I know it's a work in progress. I know. You know what I'm saying? I know it's a work in progress. Because being honest with myself, I did not like what I seen in the mirror. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? Sorry for me, hold on. Sorry. But no, I didn't like that though, y'all. I didn't. When I looked at the mirror at myself, man, I did not like what I seen. I swear to God. And the only reason it got that way is because of the stress. It was because of the physical stress that I put on myself. You know what I'm saying? It was because of the physical stress that I put on myself during this process. When I knew better. My spirit was trying to tell me otherwise, you know what I'm saying? And you're gonna have to deal with that. Sorry, y'all. That wasn't even part of it. Sorry about that. That wasn't even part of it. But yeah. After losing my son and looking in the mirror months later and stuff like that, man, I did not know that. And I'm telling y'all this right here because people stress over that. People stress over that. You know what I'm saying? For real. People stress over that. You know, and when people stress over that, sometimes they let go of themselves. I didn't know that. I wasn't listening to none of that. That right there is a type of stuff that people go through after losing a child. For real. Real talk. You don't look at yourself no more. You don't think about none of that stuff, man. You don't think about your health. You ain't thinking about your weight. Other people might see that in you, but you don't have the appetite for it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I said, if you really gonna hold yourself accountable, that's what you had to do. And that was one of the things that I had to do to hold myself accountable. I looked in the mirror, man, and I did not like what I seen. I ain't gonna play. I ain't gonna lie to you. Woo. Oh, man, sorry about that, y'all. Oh, man. That wasn't supposed to happen. But like I told y'all, man, it happens, man. Just like that. I felt good this morning. I feel a little better now. But I felt good this morning. But that's how I know. And that's how you gonna know when you done found the spirit. That's what you gonna know, you know, when you done found the spirit. Because that spirit is gonna tell you a lot about you, man. That spirit gonna tell you a lot about you. For real. And that's where I found my spirit at, y'all. I found my spirit in me. I found my spirit. Right now I'm still doing work. I'm still doing work. I'm still, you know, at times, even though it might feel like I've made sense out of it, you know what I'm saying? I've made, you know, sense out of it, or trying to make sense out of it, you know what I mean? Like I tell y'all, it's still gonna be a work in progress. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how far I've came yet, but, you know, shit, it's a work in progress, man. It's a work in progress. But when you start to focus on yourself before you really lose yourself, man, people go on years, dude, and not see this right here, man. People go on years. People go on years and not see this right here, man. And by the time they look up and see it, they done lost everything. It was like I was losing everything, and I was losing it quick. I was losing it quick. I couldn't wait years for this right here to happen for me. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't wait years. I couldn't wait years. You know what I mean? I had to do something about that now. And I ain't playing. After being real with yourself, 100%, shit. Taking accountability, like my spirit said, for the good, bad, ugly. You got to take that's why I said you got to take accountability for everything. And you're going to look at it and say, how am I supposed to take accountability at a time right now? I just lost my son, man. My son gone. How am I supposed to be taking accountability right now? You want me to take accountability at a time like this? Spirit say, yep. Spirit say, yep. Man, he just ran that light. He killed my son. Spirit say, listen, you take accountability. That's something to hear. That's why I told you your spirit is not going to always tell you the stuff that you want to hear. The stuff that they're going to tell you is going to break you or it's going to make you. You take that stuff that they told you and you eat it and you swallow it. Take your behind, look in the mirror and see what they were saying was right. And be honest with yourself. And that right there, man, listen. That part hurts. That part hurts, for real. When you look at all the work that you will have to do, man, outside of all the work that you had already been through, at least with your child, all the physical work that you got to do, that you had to do, you know what I'm saying, with your child while they was here, you got to erase all that. You got to erase all of it. Anything that you was learning, anything you was teaching them, anything that you was in the process of doing, any school, any of that right there, man. Whenever your child life come to a stop, you gotta undo all that stuff that you just taught them for all these years, and then you gotta relearn a different way of them now teaching you, because that's what it is. At that point, listen, I didn't know that. That's what it is. When they cross over, you have to go from all these years. I don't care if it was from months of you teaching them all the way up to they was 50 years old. You gonna have to eliminate all that stuff that you taught them out your mind that you done got attached to. And you gonna have to go over to meet them on the spirit end in order to see them again the way, and in order to do that, you gotta let go of the physical. But you got years inside this right here that you gotta let go. That's not gonna be easy to do. That's not easy for a lot of people to do. And the reason why you can't do that is because you still attached to the amount of time that they was with you. I'm telling you. Because this is what I went through, man. This right here is what I had to go through. And still going through it. I'm telling you, I share my journey with you. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no thing. I share my journey with you. But this right here is still things that people have to go through, man. You have to learn that all over. It's like everything that you just taught this person just went to nothing. To nothing. You, especially if you're looking at on the spiritual end, on the physical end, you turn and you say, wait a minute, you lost your child to a drunk driver, to somebody that was being negligent and all this other stuff, man. You lost them for absolutely nothing, man. You got to deal with that. You got to live with that, baby. By yourself. I don't care how many people around. By yourself. Stop trying to do this not by yourself. You got to do this by yourself. It's going to be certain times where you're going to need some help. I'm going to give you that. There's going to be certain times where you're going to need some help. But you're going to have to do it by yourself, man. And then, so now, once you finally figure it out, and once you actually grab the concept of the spirit, now let's dig this right here. You're going to get concept. Once you finally grab concept of the spirit, right? Once you finally grab concept of the spirit, the work that you have to do, you know what I'm saying, after you done accepted everything, you know what I'm saying, after you done accepted everything yourself, you know what I'm saying, and you ready and you willing and you about to do the work so you can get on your road to recovery and stuff like that, you're gonna run into another hurdle. And that hurdle is gonna be the transfer from this physical part to the spirit part. And this right here is when you come up out that, when you going to do that right there, this right here is that part that I was telling y'all about the other day ago. It's not going to allow you to do the things that you once used to do. It's not going to allow you to listen to the music that you wanted to listen to. It's not going to allow you to make the moves that you was once making. You know what I'm saying? Not comfortably. It ain't going to be comfortably, because what's going to happen is if you try to ignore this right here, whatever you're ignoring to try to compensate for this stuff that you don't want to listen to, whatever that you are going to engage in is going to be uncomfortable. You ain't even going to want to engage in it, because spirit is trying to tell you something. You know what I'm saying? Spirit is trying to tell you something. And because you don't want to listen to spirit, everything that you touch is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to keep on being uncomfortable until you do this. That's why I keep on. And so many people don't know what to do. So what they do, they turn to the church. They turn to the Bible. They turn to different things, when in all actuality, you're supposed to have been turning to yourself. You heard Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror? I don't want to stay on this thing all day preaching to y'all. I done touched on too many things today, and I don't want this thing to go on and drag on like that. Man, y'all share this video. Please share this video. Please share this video. Let this video help somebody, man, that's stuck in this right here. Because I'm gonna tell y'all, for us that done lost a child, 2 child, 3 children, 4, hey, these people are, hey, they some of them are all right, but they not all right. They not all right. On the surface, it might look like I'm all right too, and you know what? To be honest with you, I'm gonna speak it into existence, you guys. I am all right. You know what I'm saying? I am all right. It might not feel like it, but you know what? I am all right. That's exactly what it is. I'm all right, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And not only am I all right, it's gonna get better. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, share this right here with somebody y'all think it could help, man, because it's people that's in this position. They don't know which way to turn. They don't know who to talk to, who to look at, what to fall back on. And that's the reason why I'm doing this right here, because for me, that's the way it was. I ain't know which way to turn. And then at the same token, shoot, I still got people that's looking at me for answers. You know what I'm saying, as well. I don't know how many people looking at me for answers, but shoot, I'm just following what Spirit say. So hey, like I said, I'm here, man. I'm just here. Go over there on my page, Hey Uncle Ronnie, on YouTube, and go subscribe over there, y'all. Please go over there and subscribe to my Hey Uncle Ronnie YouTube page. It's HEY Uncle Ronnie. Hey Uncle Ronnie. You know what I'm saying? 3 words. It's not one, it's 3 words. And you'll see a picture with me and my daughter up there. Alright. Y'all can go over there and subscribe for me. And I got a couple of shorts over there. I got a couple videos over there. And like I said, this right here is just to show the journey, and you know, also, like I said, to help somebody else that might be going through the same thing, because I know I couldn't be the only one. It was so many people that probably done been going through my thing that was probably too scared to say that they couldn't go to Jesus and God, and all these other people probably didn't want to say it because of the backlash that had come out. But I'm going to tell you, man, I'm being honest with you. It wasn't working for me. It was not working for me. This is what worked for me. You know what I mean? So, anywho, I'm about to get up off of here, man. Y'all have yourself a blessed day. And I get with y'all on the next video. Share it if you find it informative.